It is now 7:41 p.m. I would like to call the Planning Commission meeting of Tuesday, June 6, 2023 to order. Commissioner DeVries, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As I said earlier, special commemoration to D-Day. Today's the anniversary of D-Day. Uncommon courage.
And then clerk, can I please get a roll call?
Commissioner Correa,
Here.
Commissioner DeVries, Commissioner Maderos,
Here.
Chair Aranda.
Here. All right, this is the time for general public comments on items that are not on the agenda and that are under the city subject matter jurisdiction. The Planning Commission will not be engaging. If you have anything that requires follow-up, staff will get back to you. Public comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The chair may further limit the time for public comments depending on the agenda schedule. If you are attending in person and wish to make a public comment, please fill out a speaker card and state your name for the record. I would now like to open up the floor for public comments. Seeing no
items not on the posted agenda.
items not posted on the agenda. Seeing that there's no one here in chambers, is there anyone in Zoom?
We have one hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you, Fran Fitzharris, Brewery 25. I'm just here. I just like to let everybody know that Brewery 25, we're your local brewery. We've been manufacturing for 10 years and we're allowed to have 6 satellite tasting rooms. And we decided to select San Juan Bautista 6 years ago. And we've had a great success in collaborating with lots of other businesses in the county and in our city. Also doing a style period correct beer for our 150 celebration for San Juan. Unfortunately, we are leaving and closing our tasting room this month and leaving at the end of June. As you go outside of this county and you go to my model of a tasting room, we thrive because of pop-ups, food trucks, and an outdoor experience, all things that have been recently attacked. And you know, it's just it doesn't make for a good future for us. And it's upsetting because if you look at Santa Rosa, Russian River Brewing, they had a $6.1 million economic impact in their city because of there being a brewery. And so there is a huge difference between food and beverage and what that brings in. And I really hope to see us really look at that. And I hear lots of comments about partnering and incentives and all those things. There's a difference between food and beverage and retail, and we need to really start working on keeping our food and beverage. So thank you so much. I really appreciate our planning commission that jumped in and has been assisting, and I hope we can continue to work together and see better things in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom?
No other hands raised.
All right, actually, no, I think that's it. All right, we're going to be moving on. I'm going to close public comments. I'm going to move on to agenda item number 3, informal project review. Any potential and or future project applicant may present their project to the commission during informal project review for the purpose of gaining information as a preliminary feedback only. No formal application is required and no action will be taken by the commission on any item at this time. Is staff?
We have no informal items.
Got it. All right, moving on to agenda item number 4, consent. There are 2 items on the consent agenda. Would any commissioner like to pull an item for separate vote or separate discussion? Or would any member in the public like to pull an item? Please come forward.
I would be remiss. This is Jackie Morris Lopez, resident, city council member. I would like to pull action item number 5, item number C.
Thank you.
This is the consent calendar.
Are you talking about consent? or
These are
action?
consent, this is the
consent.
consent item.
Consent items. I'm sorry, then consent would be 5C.
No, consent is item number 4,
There's only number 4, A or B, correct?
correct?
Correct.
Okay. I misspoke. Thank you.
No worries, thank you. Anyone from the commission want to pull an item? No? All right, would I be able to get a motion, and a second?
I'll second it.
Or,
Second one.
Second, did you just make a motion? I'm
No.
sorry, I didn't hear it.
I so move.
So moved. I'll second it.
all right, with a motion from Commissioner Correa and a second from, Commissioner Maderos, clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Correa,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBreeze, Commissioner Maderos,
Yes.
Chair Aranda,
Yes.
motion carried.
Moving on to the next agenda item, number 5, action items. And this is going to be 5A. Consider the recommendation of the Historic Resource Board and consider a site and design review permit to connect an existing 747 square foot residence to an existing 504 square foot accessory dwelling unit with a 47 square foot connection on property known as 701 3rd Street. APN 002-330-009. The applicant is Isaiah Jimenez. Staff.
Yeah, so commission chair and members of the commission. This is comes before you as a site and design review permit for addition to a building that's been designated a historic resource. The recommendation as indicated in the staff report is from the architectural review. From the Historic Resources Board this evening is to approve the project subject to conditions of approval referenced in the staff report. And actually, those conditions of approval are referenced in the resolution. So, so that in that case, you do have a recommendation agreed to by the applicant for paint to be reviewed and approved by the city's architectural historian and staff based on her recommendation. And so our recommendation is that this project be approved.
Thank you. I'm going to be opening up questions to our commissioners. Any of our commissioners have questions?
Oh, there is one more condition of approval. I'm sorry. The other condition of approval is that consistent with Secretary of the Interior standards for historic resources, the siding on this particular addition cannot be exactly the same. It has to be differentiated from the existing historic resource. So we look for that as well.
Got it. Thank you. And again, going back to our commissioners for questions. Any questions? No? And then I'm going to open it up to public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing that there's none in the room, anyone on Zoom? Okay, I'm going to be moving on to the action. Can I get a motion to approve a site plan and design review permit?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a recommendation. I would move that we follow the staff recommendation to approve the site plan and design review permit subject to conditions and based on findings contained in the resolution attached to the staff report dated June 6, 2023.
I second the motion.
With a motion from Commissioner Correa and a second motion from Commissioner DeVries.
Behind the staff report. Immediately behind the staff report, there is a resolution.
We're good. Well, yeah, we have a second.
Yeah.
So,
Motion to approve. Second.
yeah, so with the motion from Commissioner Korea and a second from Commissioner DeVries, clerk, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Korea,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBreeze,
Yes.
Commissioner Maderos,
Yes.
Chair Aranda,
Yes.
motion carried.
Moving on to action item B, consider a site and design review permit for development of a two-story duplex, each unit 1,584 square feet and two attached accessory dwelling units, ADUs, on a 10,534 square foot property known as 45 Washington Street, APN 002-410-024. The project has been determined to be exempt from CEQA per guidelines sections 15303, new construction of small structures. The applicant is James, pardon if I butcher this name, Volselka, on behalf of Tyrone Todd. Staff, do we have a report?
Yeah, so we're recommending that the Planning Commission open the public hearing. Consider any comments from the public that are here that wish to speak on the item. Before you, there is some information that came into both the HRB staff report previously and to the commission on the existing structures. But just because we're going to open the hearing and we want to have that hearing continued open
Mhm.
so that in July, the applicants can come forward with the project for consideration. So there isn't anything on the agenda tonight to really do except to open the hearing because we did advertise it as a public hearing.
Open it and then continue it, Brian?
Yes, open the hearing, consider any comments from anyone that wants to speak, and then continue the hearing open.
Got it. And all right, commissioners, any questions? No? Commissioner Maderos? No? All right, DeVries? No? Okay. Any public comments? From the chambers?
Good evening, Jackie Morris Lopez, San Juan
Welcome.
Bautista. Thank you for your time. I just had some questions actually with this project. It looks like it's a duplex, so two individual units, but also, if I'm reading this correctly, two additional ADU units as well as a duplex. So my concern or question is whether or not the owner will provide parking. So something that you all should consider as our planning commissioners for future consideration. As you know, we already have very impacted parking on our residential streets. So, you know, and it's pretty common these days that you don't have a single family living in any kind of residence these days. And certainly, you know, 1,500 square feet would be, you know, enough for maybe two separate adults with two separate cars or three cars. So it's something to consider whether or not parking is going to be addressed. And then with the building of being two-story duplex units, where are they going to face? How is that going to impact their neighbors behind them, beside them, as far as privacy, all of that consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from chambers? Seeing
we're-
none, we're gonna be moving over to Zoom land. Anybody from Zoom?
Yes, we have one. Hold on.
Hi, this is Cara. I'm on Urban's device right now. Can you hear me?
Yes, and welcome.
Thank you. Based on the prior discussion dealing with plaques and all of that, I'm wondering if you might want to condition it that the owner pay for a plaque and then the Historical Society and others can develop the language for it as a condition, since they're going to be putting up 4 units. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom?
No more hands raised.
I'm gonna kind of kick it back to our commissioners. I think Commissioner DeVries has a comment.
Do they need a conditional use permit for this?
No, just a site and design review permit.
And what opportunities are there to condition a site design?
Every opportunity to address all aspects of the project with respect to site design, parking, relationship of buildings to adjacent properties, as was mentioned, there are concerns. And also based on HRB's discussion earlier, that will also be part of the project review that you're gonna undertake as a planning commission.
So certainly that would include demarcating some kind of historical significance.
Yeah, that will be something we'll discuss with the applicants, and then that will be a part of the public hearing, which you're going to continue open to allow any further comment. So for example, we want it open. We don't want to close the hearing because people don't know what the final design really is. That gives us an opportunity to look at all these issues that have been brought up. So I think we're in good shape for that.
Where is this property, Brian, exactly?
It's on Washington Street, of course, but it's west of Fourth.
West of what?
Fourth. It's on the it's between Fourth and Fifth.
Between 4th and 5th on Washington.
Right.
So Drew Neubauer's house that he got up.
Next door to Drew Neubauer's house.
That's right.
Yes.
Heading towards the hills.
Right. On the right-hand side.
And they're proposing to increase the density quite a bit. So,
Well, there is a duplex on the site now. And our ADU ordinance, way ahead of its time with respect to state law, allowed an applicant to propose an ADU along with the proposal for a duplex. So rather than having to wait to build a duplex and then build the ADU, our ordinance allows them to be considered in combination.
but the councilwoman's comment about parking is well taken then.
Sure, yeah, it is.
But we're gonna get a chance to look at this again.
Absolutely. You'll get a chance to look at the whole project.
Thank you. That's all.
All right.
And I just want to say that all these comments are a matter of record. We'll bring them forward to the planning commission, during that review. So these comments are going to be part of that review.
Perfect. And then Brian, I just have one question. Just remind me again, this is a medium density area, right?
That's right. And ADUs don't count toward density, as we know.
Got it. All right, and okay, and then I think just echoing what you said, since we're keeping this case, this hearing open, we can add conditions if we needed to in the future. Got it. Cool. All right. Any other questions from our commissioners?
I'm good.
No. Okay, so can I get a recommendation or I can just open the hearing, right? Yeah. So then I'm just going to open the public hearing and continue the hearing open at the request of the applicant.
You need a motion.
Oh,
I make a motion that we continue this agenda item until the next planning commission meeting in July.
We want to
I'll
make
second.
sure that it's open.
Is that what you want, Brian?
Yeah.
July?
Yeah, July. Make sure it's part of your motion that you are continuing the hearing open.
Yeah, that the discussion will remain open, but I make a motion that we continue this agenda item to the next planning commission meeting in July.
I'll second it.
and with a motion from Commissioner DeVries and a second from Commissioner Maderos. Clerk, can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Correa,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBreeze,
Yes.
Commissioner Maderos,
Yes.
Chair Aranda,
Yes.
motion carried.
Moving on to action item 5C, consider the recommendation of the Historic Resource Board to approve a site and design review permit for a 36 by 16 high range sign in front of property known as 302 3rd Street, APN 002-160-013. The applicant is Patricia Baines. Staff, do we have a report?
Yes, we do have a report. As indicated in the staff report, we're recommending approval based on the consistency of this particular project with the city's sign design guidelines and the sign ordinance with respect to all those matters that are pertinent, which include the size, the scale and appearance, which, are required to be simple and handcrafted with good legibility, colors that match. We note that it has a sandstone background, a beige frame, black lettering. It's a metal sign with a wood surround, and I think that is consistent with the sign guidelines that we have. Its orientation will be easily read by pedestrians walking along the sidewalk. And for a hanging sign, it'll have to be 7 feet above, the sidewalk and as we've commented before during the HRB hearing, it'll have to adhere to installation requirements via a building permit. So that's the staff report.
I'm going to open it up to our commissioners for questions.
I don't have any questions or comments or concerns.
No.
I guess I'll get this started. I don't think it's what the sign is made of or how high it hangs. I think it's what it says. And my understanding is that the name on it is the subject of some controversy. Is that true? Mr. City Manager, Assistant City Manager?
I know that there have been comments made for the record indicating that people disagree that with the sign, and we've heard comments during the HRB meeting indicating that there's some disagreement regarding the sign content. Our recommendation is that those are not matters that are within the purview of the Planning Commission.
Okay, well enough, but the name itself that is slated to be put on said sign.
The Merchants Association,
Pardon?
the language on that sign, is that what you're asking?
The name on the sign.
Multi-Services Business Center.
Multi-Services Business Center. So in that way, they're not involving themselves in the controversy about the other name. Let's just quit beating around the bush. There's two groups warring right now in San Juan Bautista over the right to use the name. What is it? San Juan Business Association or something? Is that right?
I think it's San Juan Bautista Business Association.
Okay, so
if I'm
this
correct.
sign would not say that. It would not say San Juan Bautista Business Association.
The way I read the sign is that the proposal is to include the sponsorship information regarding the Multi-Service Business Center. And the sponsor in small type is the San Juan Bautista Business Association, although it's not worded correctly here in this example. But I think the intent is pretty clear to indicate the sponsorship for the center. And there's nothing in the ordinance or regulations or anything that prohibits that from being put on the sign.
Well, even still, the inclusion of that name is the subject of controversy in this town right now. True or untrue?
Well, what are you asking me?
Just what I
Well,
said.
you have it on all I can tell you is what's here before the commission on record. And so it's really, I think that based on the record in front of us, we know that there's some disagreement about the sign. So
I don't.
I
think
don't
that-
understand what the question is otherwise.
How is that on the record? That's what I'm trying to do, is create a record.
You have some testimony here that been provided earlier in the HRB meeting. Part of the record of that hearing involves some conflict over whether the sign was appropriate.
Well, I'm not sure about the admissibility of testimony in another meeting to this one. I guess I'm just trying to establish the fact.
Well, why don't we have the public hearing and allow the public to comment on the sign, and then we'll understand what level of controversy exists for the record.
Okay, and another idea might be for me to be able to finish my questions. The name, what's the name? The San Juan Bautista Business Association?
San Juan Bautista Business Association.
So that's a hotly contested item, and now it's being proposed to be put on a sign. Am I right about that so far?
I'm not going to disagree with what you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when will, because I know that talking with Don and so forth, there's some negotiations that have been underway with these folks, some of whom are here right now. Is there any anticipated time when that's going to wrap up? When is this going to be, is this conflict about that name going to be resolved?
I have no idea.
We don't know if it's going to be resolved or not.
No, we don't know.
That's all I have.
Thanks. I do have a question. I see that the Patricia Baines is here. Do we have any insight on that name being resolved?
Patricia Baines, resident business owner. As I previously stated, this meeting is about the signage. At last city council meeting, the city attorney agreed with our association's attorney that our business association has exclusivity for the name in San Benito County. That's on record. Okay. Was there any other
Nope,
question?
that's it. That answers my question.
Yeah, and I have to just say here that, we're looking at a legitimate business
Mhm.
with a legitimate request for a site and design review permit. Whatever happens between the two organizations is none of our business. As staff, as the commission, or the HRB. There is no reason for us to get involved in what happens between these two organizations for the purpose of deciding this particular sign application. It's not related. And so I encourage the commission not to have an excursion into what the issues are, because those are outside the purview of the commission. The findings that you have to make with respect to the site and design review permit have nothing to do with this conflict. And so I encourage the commission to look at the required findings that you must make and the conditions of approval, if any, and to stick with the framework established in the zoning ordinance for review of these applications.
Got it. Thank you. And then I have another comment, and the only thing I can say is I agree with Brian. To be in all honesty, to be fair. And it breaks my heart just because, we have an issue in town, and I wish it could just be resolved. And so if I had any power, I can't tell the Baines what to do. But I'll just ask in good faith to see if it's a possibility. If you do go and you create this sign, I love what it already says, multi-service, and I noticed that you put it in small print, San Juan Bautista Business Association. If in good faith, for whatever, because that's already on your window, which is which is great. If you could just not put it on, but I can't tell you that. In good faith, just to the other party, just to meet in the middle. That'd be great, but I can't give you a recommendation, but I'm just saying if that is a possibility in good faith, if you would do that, but obviously it's your choice.
I've always already expressed this to Brian,
Mm.
that we're willing to do that at this time.
Oh. Okay.
Thing, this is just a question of public perception. If you go to the city's website, which is, I think, sanctioned by the city. And I look on there and it says San Juan Bautista Business Association. And that's been on there for how many years? So this is, if nothing else, this is confusing to the public. If someone is looking at San Juan and saying, I want to open a business in San Juan Bautista, here's a business association. And then there's conflicting issues. There's two entities claiming the same name. This doesn't work in terms of if we're attempting to attract new business. And this is beyond the purview of this particular hearing, but it's just a point of fact.
And I have to say that if even though based on the applicant's decision, regardless, they can easily put the letters back on.
Agreed.
And in my opinion, putting those letters back on the sign after this approval does not warrant a site and design review permit.
Well, agreed.
Okay.
And so I think that's all I had, and thank you. That's all I can say is thank you. Anyone else here with comments? So I will open it up to public comment on this matter. And we'll start with here in chambers. Is there anyone in chambers?
Yes, we have 2 speaker cards. Is Morris Lopez?
Welcome.
Good evening once again. Thank you. I just want to say I agree with the last comments by Commissioner Correa. I think the perception is really misleading and confusion is created by it. I think it's also I thank Commissioner DeVries for wearing his other hat, Attorney DeVries. I think, we do need to peel the Band-Aid off and the scab off here for the public and for you all. We can't keep skating around this issue. This is a very issue of contention in our community now. It's very sad because we want to welcome new businesses. I think that I disagree with Assistant City Manager, Mr. Fouch, respectfully, that the city has involved themselves in this quite intensely. That's the perception, and that's also been fact. And I think that it needs to stop. As a resident and as a politician as well, I get feedback from my residents, my neighbors, and the city has inserted themselves with group number 2 quite nicely and has been very negligent and sometimes often rude and dismissive with group 1. If we're going to say that we're going to get along and work with each other, then we need to do that and act as such. I commend Mrs. Baines. I appreciate that she's willing to hold off the association with the other title, because that is the title that's in right now. It's being settled legally, I believe. If I may speak to that briefly, just mention that for the record. And also I want to say shame on our city attorney for weighing in. It was not the city's job. And if Mr. Fouch agrees that the city is not involved, by our city attorney sitting here at a city council meeting that I was present at to weigh in on a decision, I think is misrepresentation, and it's not tolerated, and it was incorrect to do that, because then the city is taking a stance. Okay, and I'm gonna give you one last example. Say Jackie Morris Lopez, private citizen, wanted to go to where maybe down the street, there's a shop for rent in the Bluebird Hotel. I decided I was going to sell bagels and some bread products. Then I decided I was to come before you as the Planning Commission, previously the HRP, and proposed a sign that said San Juan Bakery. What would you all do? Or maybe I decided to have a coffee shop and I put that at that same spot and said, come to you and say, I want a sign, fits the dimensions with the ordinances, and I'm gonna call it Vertigo Coffee Shop. What would you do? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment here in chambers?
Yes, Miss Leslie Jordan.
Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. It's funny hearing my name without having mayor in front of it. Hi, thank you. I appreciate the time to talk for a moment. I appreciate what Commissioner Correa said. It's a sentiment that rings out throughout the community. And there is that divisiveness and who wants to open up a new business here. Having said that, I agree with Assistant City Manager Fouch. Before you now is to approve or not approve a sign that meets all of the requirements per our sign regulation. That's the decision that you all have to make. A sign has been presented to you all, and you choose to accept the sign because it meets all of the requirements, or you choose to ignore the sign because it doesn't meet all the requirements. Unfortunately, that's your task. While you're deciding that, though, there are a plethora of other signs on that one storefront. Those need to be addressed. How many signs are too many signs? How many signs are not enough signs? Along with signs are also lighting conditions that we have to address at some point. They should be coming before the commission. I appreciate your time. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments inside of chambers?
None at this time, but we do have one hand raised in Zoom.
All right, moving over to Zoom. Welcome, Fran.
Hi, Fran Fitzharris, Bury 25. Just listening to everything and being part of this situation, it has been difficult for many of us. But really today, what I'm looking at is I'm looking, at what poor taste and insensitive, and really showing that you don't care about what's going on because you're already wanting to put up a sign. I do appreciate Mrs. B making the comment she said about leaving stuff out, but that wasn't brought up until it was mentioned. But the fact that we're already putting up a sign and our assistant city manager is pushing it and supporting it and helping and being what he should have been to a lot of the other businesses that have tried to do things here, really. And I mean no disrespect, but this is fact that is just so disrespectful and sad that you're putting up this sign already when we're still having meetings. So that just tells me that there wasn't going to be any kind of discussion or any kind of compromise at all from the beginning. So it's just sad to me. Very, very sad.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, we have one more. Ms. Vanda?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. we can hear
I'm
you.
home now, yes. I don't want to go into this very much, but I just want to clarify that the other group did submit a letter to the city, while our group did not submit our letters to the city. We didn't think it was a city issue. So the city attorney did not know the whole story. In fact, the city council, the planners, the HRB, you don't all know the whole story either. And that's why we're in this situation, meeting with the facilitator. So the truth will prevail ultimately, and when the time is right, it will come out. But until then, just try to be as unbiased as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments from the public on Zoom?
No more hands raised, Chair.
I think we got one more in chambers.
Go ahead.
Helena Walton, 308 3rd Street. I know feelings are heightened. Once again, we're here for a specific reason, and that's to adhere to the guidelines set forth to this commission to deal with the sign in and of itself without anything else. I don't want to say anything outside of that, not even a response to the people who have commented, because that's not what we're here for. I just want to relate that to our commission tonight, that the purpose and intent of this meeting with the application that's been presented to you tonight is solely on the contents of whether or not the sign meets the requirements, guidelines outlined in our ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments?
I'd like to respond to one thing.
Sure.
First of all, it's our obligation as staff
Mhm.
to review these applications in the context provided by our guidelines and our regulations. And so when we issue a recommendation for approval, it's because we've done that. And so that's the context for staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now that we're I'll go back to our commissioners just in case. Any other comments from our commissioners? No? Okay. All right, we're gonna take an action then. Oh, you have, yeah, oh, sorry, my apologies. I'm sorry, Commissioner DeVries has some comments.
Well. Comments, I guess they would constitute as comments. For me, it has nothing, as I intimated earlier, you may have heard the hints that it matters very little about whether the sign is the right size and hanging the right height above the sidewalk or the thoroughfare, what it's made out of. It's what it says. And being a lawyer, as someone else mentioned, I realize that we're quickly into First Amendment territory. But I think that cities have the ability to regulate what something says, even though it can be absolutely compliant in every other respect. And then this instance, the proposed sign doesn't say something really scandalous, but it uses a phrase that is hotly contested right now. So and as the assistant city manager said, we should stay out of these kinds of phrases. I'm completely in favor of staying out of that fray. And my own feeling is that I would support a motion, or I'll make it myself, to continue this sign application until the determination of who gets to use that name is made. And then when that determination is made, then this sign, you've already heard, meets all the requirements, assuming it could almost be on the consent agenda for approval. But right now, I don't want this city, well, I have something to do with it, to come out in favor or endorsing one group over the other by giving them the sign containing the name that is so hotly contested. I don't think that'd be an appropriate move by a municipality. But I'm more than happy to I see you, Dante, but I'd be more than happy to make that recommendation once you get it figured out. Do you have something to say to me? No, I'm looking at your uncle. Sorry. He's pointing at me.
I'm gonna entertain it. I'll just open.
My name is
open
Dante
public-
Baines.
Reopen public comment. Welcome.
I'm a resident and a business owner in this city. I have to maintain my composure, so I'm gonna read what I wrote. What I wrote here was, does the truth matter? As far as what's going on with these names? Does it matter? We got an attorney involved. Speaking of attorneys, we got an attorney involved that did his research, thoroughly. And came up with the conclusion that we legally own the name that we're showing. The other people in the town say, we've had the name. Yeah, they've had it since February this year. I don't know where this information is coming from, that they legally owned the name before that. If there's no proof of that, that they legally own that name. We legally own the name that we are producing. This matter has been litigated and we won in the litigation. We also agreed to go back with the arbitration and try to clear this up again from the arbitration standpoint. We shouldn't have to do that. We agreed to do that for peace sakes. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this town that are putting a lot of untruths in the media on my wife and the organization, and this will not be tolerated. And I'm talking about, they know who they are, and they are subject to being sued for this. Well, I'm suggesting to the people in San Juan, we love San Juan, we work hard in San Juan, we love the people in San Juan. We are not going to tolerate this misinformation that's being blasted all over the internet, and the funny faces that are going down the street that we have, my wife and the employees have to absorb from these people that don't like us for some reason. So we're just not going to tolerate it. Okay? That's what I want to say.
Thank you. Any other, yeah, we have one more public comment.
For the purposes of this commission, Mrs. B has already, actually, we've been in discussion with the assistant city manager prior to this meeting, was earlier today, that the decision was made not to do the sponsorship section underneath the sign, which was just a sponsorship. The sign in and of itself, the wording of the sign is the multi-center, multi-purpose business center. That's the actual wording on the sign. The subset of the sign, which is underneath, was to say it was sponsored by the SJB Business Association. And we have already agreed to dismiss that portion of the sign for the purposes of this group, so everyone's on the same page. We can understand the actual sign is multi-purpose business center, which we need so we can present the different services, and the community knows that we offer faxing, copying, printing, all the different resources, a senior drop-in center, as well as lamination, efficient services, and all the services that are being provided through the program, as well as a senior is able to get a job in the city that's sponsored through a third-party program. So these are major services being presented, as well as money transfers through the business center, and it needs to be advertised. I think we're getting beyond the point where we're trying to nitpick what goes on the sign and not look at the fact that what the services are being provided through that particular venue.
Thank you.
So you're willing to leave the controversial name off the sign?
Yeah, they said that.
I know Mrs. B, I know, but I'm just confirming. So if all right.
Yeah, we need to close.
Okay,
public comment and be,
all right,
I'm sorry, yes.
yeah.
okay, I,
You
as,
opened the hearing, you can close
yeah,
it.
I'm gonna call a point of order.
Yeah.
So I think we have the information. Guys in chambers, can we please settle down? Okay, so we have the information that we need, and the last comment I think that I'm gonna say is that, yes, I think we need to be fair. And I warn our commission, or, I ask them that you really think about what we're here for. I'm echoing what the assistant city manager is saying. We are here regarding a sign. The Baines have, mentioned that they would be fair and remove that item, that name off the sign, in all fairness to, in all respect for the other side, right? And so I got that. That's the information I have, and I think I'm ready to make an action here, unless we have anything else to say. Is there any other comments from our commissioners?
No, I have a question for staff. We can condition the approval of the sign that it not have the controversial name on it.
I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate. My recommendation is that you avoid this topic in your decision. And if the applicant decides to take that, if the applicant decides on their own initiative to take that portion off the sign, that's their decision. However, for you to condition the project has nothing to do with the findings that you're required to make. It is not connected. There's no nexus at all. I'm sure you understand that, between that particular kind of condition and the framework that you're working in. And so that's my emphasis here. And my recommendation is that you not do that, because you have the opportunity or the regulatory ability to do that.
I disagree with that legal analysis, and you just switch what would be a yes vote to a no. Because they volunteered to do that. And
It's their decision.
with their agreement to do that, I was gonna say, sure, hang up your sign. But with the assistant city manager said, that the hot topic name can go right back on there, and we can't have any opportunity to say, no, don't do that, or at least hold off on that. And remember, my comments was to continue this until that is all sorted out. I understand you guys are in mediation or something with the two groups, group 1, group 2. Once that gets figured out, fine. But I don't want the city to wade into that at this juncture. So that's how I feel, and that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Got it. All right, so can I get in a motion to approve the site and design review permit to allow the installation of the 36 by 16 hanging sign in front of 302 3rd Street?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion. What's the resolution number going to be?
You just specify next in order. Resolution next in order. is
Okay,
fine.
resolution next in order. Okay. Of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista approving a site plan and design review permit for a sign permit for a 36-inch wide and 16-inch high hanging sign for 302 3rd Street. Parcel number is the 002-160-013.
Can I get a second? I will be the second.
Calling for the vote. Commissioner Correa,
Reluctantly, yes.
Commissioner DeBreeze, Commissioner Maderos,
An unbiased, yes.
Chair Aranda,
Yes.
motion carried.
Moving on to, apologies here, informational and discussion items. A zoning ordinance review workshop schedule and organization, material to be distributed prior to the meeting. Staff report, sorry,
Obviously, that did not occur. Material was not distributed prior to the meeting about the workshop. There were just too many intervening factors during the past week. However, I would suggest that we start your review covering the entitlements portion of the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
So we talk about basically the operation of the zoning ordinance in terms of conditional use permits, site design review permits, where and when those are applied, and anything related to subdivisions or other kinds of development that relate to those permits. So I think that's a great sort of structure because you know, you have the opportunity to look at certain things, and then you have a lot of flexibility through the findings that are required on all of those permits to have a great deal of control over what happens, and a lot of discretion with respect to development in town. So those are your operational sort of foothold. I think it'd be a great place to start. So that's what I would recommend for your meeting in July, is that we sort of, unless you want to do it in a workshop setting.
I was just gonna mention, can we do it at the workshop that we're doing for HRB? Might as well just like
We can just continue on.
yeah, and we'll just
Yeah.
squeeze it in there if we're just, you know.
Right.
Okay, then
Then we'll schedule that workshop, which we haven't done yet, but what I'll do is get together with each of you and figure out what times work best.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. I guess commissioners, any questions? No questions. All right. Public comments? Anyone in chambers?
How about you, see that guy? Got any questions?
All right, no. All right, so no, and seeing that there's no public comment in chambers, any public comments on Zoom?
No hands raised, Chair.
Okay, and then moving on then. Informational and discussion items, section 6B, discussion of alternatives for outdoor uses in commercial and industrial districts. Workshop scheduled and organization material to be distributed prior to the meeting.
That did not happen with respect to material. However, there's an interesting thing that happened during the interim, which is that we distributed a temporary use of land permit with some standards for issuance of that permit that provide a starting point for discussion in a workshop setting. And I know the city of Hollister just adopted standards for mobile vendors, food trucks.
Food truck, yeah.
So there's a lot out there right now in terms of material. And we just didn't have a chance to pull all that together while we were dealing with the temporary use of land permit topic, in addition to the strategic plan and the other things that we were doing. I look forward to getting into that. One of the things that I encourage individual commissioners to do is to send me information that you think resonates with you with respect to solutions. So if you see something that you like, even if it's just, and I think I sent all of you something about food court, food truck in another jurisdiction.
Yes, in the San Jose jurisdiction of
Right.
a kind of like a food court, flea market.
Like a festival kind of
Festival thing.
situation,
Mhm.
which is what I've heard, would, be enliven things quite a bit.
Yeah.
So things like that. So just newsworthy, informational, things that I can then take in, package and redistribute to everyone.
Okay.
So if there's something that you have seen or that you like, that you think could be replicated here in some form, it doesn't have to be exactly what that is. Just send that over. I know David, you looks at a lot of different stuff, and all of you do. So if you see something that's desirable in any respect, send it. It may be just a piece of or one aspect that you like. Just highlight that, and then I'll package it up.
Got it. And then I had a question. Would it be appropriate if I submitted anything that I might have heard of from, our local businesses or
Oh, yeah.
business district that they think
Please do.
be a good idea for them, just to support them? For me, this is a high, yeah, this is exactly, yeah, this is a high almost a high priority item for us just because of, we just want to make sure that we have something for them before, you know,
You mean that what I give you, you want to give them?
yeah,
Or you want to get information from them to bring into the process, or all of the
I
above?
want to get information to bring them into the
Yeah.
process, and so that they have kind of a seat at the table and they can give us some cool ideas.
Great idea.
You know,
Yeah.
just to make sure it all works, and then also, you know, just to kind of see if we can get this outdoor area set up, whether that's another option of, you know, once the parklets go away. You know, I know we've talked about having a solution, so when these things go away, we have something for them, so they're not just in limbo.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of, for me, it's important just to make sure that they have what it needs to survive. They have mentioned to me that COVID still has impacted them this year, and so we should look into that. But that's all.
Well, you might want to consider for your workshop, having it be not just with the commission, but to invite people to participate. There's no reason that the public can't participate in the discussion. And so, because it's more informal,
Got it.
casual, you know, that kind of thing. Even though you're a quorum, when you get there, there's no reason that it can't be open-ended.
Okay,
So, yeah.
perfect. Thank you. Commissioner, question? No? Okay. Public comment? Not seeing anything in chambers.
That's still a hard no.
All right, in questions in Zoom land.
None at this time, Chair.
All right, so then moving on to item C, comprehensive economic development strategy, economic development citizen advisory committee, EDCAC report. God, that's a tongue twister. Strategic plan update and discussion, material to be distributed prior to the meeting.
Right, so I'm not sure whether you received strategic plan material. I think you did receive the EDCAC report. There's a lot there. We don't need to really get into the details. The EDCAC report will be given to council for their meeting on the 13th.
Got it.
You know, I really encourage the commission to become familiar with that. Previously, the work of the EDCAC has been kind of, you know, not really high profile. But I think because the city council has given, you know, now provided a budget for economic development activities. There wasn't any budget before, now there will be. All the EDCAC members, up 5 of them that wanted to go to the Cal Ed annual conference are going. And so I expect that when that happens, they're going to come back with a lot of, you know, energy that I think will be really great. We have the SEDS program, SEDS County Economic Development Strategic Plan that is moving through. The public hearing on that will start in soon, like in a week, and last for 30 days. And so it's important that's a very project-oriented, countywide economic development strategy. So I think it's important to look at that because some projects are going to come out of there. You know, so there's a lot happening this year on economic development. Just, you know, the organization just pushed out their recommendations to the rest of the city. So it's very interesting.
Okay.
All of it.
You didn't mention, like, the meetings are open to the public, right? I mean, I went to one of the meetings, the last one you had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the EDCAC meetings. Yeah, the agendas are all posted.
Yeah.
They're now hybrid, just like this one. And the public can attend. Downtown businesses can attend. You know, and so yeah, you've got two.
Want to try that?
You got a city council member on that commission, and you know, it's an 11-member committee, so there's a lot in there for people to appreciate. So. And And members of both organizations are on that committee. So collaborating together.
Any questions from our commissioners? Okay. Public comments in chambers? None. Okay, any public comments on Zoom land?
None at this time, Chair.
All right. Great. All right, cool. Moving on to item number 7 on the agenda, comments. Anything from our planning commission? Still nothing. Okay, all right. It's a little quiet now.
Still no.
All right, I do have a comment. I always have a comment. One of the comments would be, and I just want to say thank you, Brian, our assistant city manager, for working with me in the commission on that tulip to help our business district with our pop-up situation.
My pleasure.
So again, thank you for that, and thank you for coming with me and walking the town that day to collect them and making it an easy process and getting to meet our owners, our business owners. The second item I wanted to bring up is Brian, I think we talked about it, but I just want to let everyone know, usually when we go through this, I have a bunch of task items that I keep, and I talked to Brian that we are going to kind of have I don't know whether it's a spreadsheet or something that has these items, and it's just going to go over. It looks like that from our last meeting, but obviously it's a lot of things that he can't squeeze in all the time. So we're going to maintain a list, and if you guys have anything for me to put on there, we'll start to slowly close them out or prioritize them as we need. So that's the only thing I would have to say. And then
What's the name of that list?
Jose's planning commissioner task list. The wish list, yeah. And then I have, yeah.
Hold on, before we get too far past Jose's list, what does it constitute?
Right now, it's simply a list of things that
From our previous meetings.
from our previous meeting that are sort of things that might need to be done. Things that it's like it's a wish list of things that could be good, but need further discussion and evaluation. So it's a list of topics, basically.
And what is the opportunity for planning commissioners other than Jose to add something to?
In your once you get the sort of the basic one or the first one, you can add to it. Just let me know in a similar fashion. If there are things that you're especially interested in, send me an email, and then I will put it on the list.
I just like to add one last comment. It's getting late in the evening again, but kudos to Jose and Brian for getting that thing done with the permits. And it's lovely to see something like that actually getting done and taking the fortitude to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, well, we did it as a team, so kudos to everyone
Thanks,
here
Tony.
and our assistant city manager. And then the last one, it's brief. We don't have to do it now. I know it's getting late. I wanted to say thank you to our staff and our city council, mayor, everyone, for giving us the opportunity to do our leadership customer service training. That was something that happened this weekend. I did promise, the public that this would be something that would happen. I personally did attend, and so did our city council, and it was a very productive meeting. I think we learned a lot about each other, and for the first time, I felt like we all came together, and actually, got things done and got to understand where we're all coming from. So it was really, really nice. And one of the things that I took away from it was a reminder of what we call white space. And we don't have to do it here now, but essentially what white space means is it allows us, the planning commission, I would like to adopt it for us to do where it's 30 minutes, or even 15 minutes of us talking about something that you would like to see done for the city, something that's been bugging. Maybe it's a small little topic or something that we haven't had time to address or look at, but it's on the top of your, in the top of your head. Someone's brought it up to you, and we all come together, write it down, and we get to pick which item we want to address and fix, and we can make that a one-time kind of a special prioritization in the wish list to get something done. And that was something that I took away from that meeting, and I thought that would be really cool, whether it's something huge or something small, but something that we would give our attention to. And so that's all I had. Any comments or questions from our commissioners? No? Cool. Any comments from the public? No. All right. Not seeing any in chambers or Zoom. Comments from our community development director.
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, cool. I'm gonna move on to an adjournment here. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 6th, 2020. Oh, I am looking at the wrong one. July. Yes, okay. Do you want to push it a week, since I'm sure all of us are gonna be on vacation? The 4th lands on what, do we know? It lands on Tuesday. What do you guys prefer?
If the 4th is on a Tuesday, that's probably a dead week for most folks.
Yeah.
Just push it a week.
I think the week after, let's push a week. You guys okay with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's be proposed. No, I'm planning on being here. Being at 4th of July, just to be here. It's America or what? What matters to you guys? 4th to what? 11? To 11. All right, cool. Then I think we all agree to the 11th. Yeah, 11. Okay, so the next regular meeting is scheduled for, and I believe it's a Tuesday, right? Still?
Yes.
Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. It is 8:54. And this meeting is adjourned. Can I get a motion to adjourn? this?
So moved.
Second.
Awesome. Can I get a roll call, please? Oh, not, well, yeah, well, it says I got asked for roll call.
Anybody opposed to?
Wait.
You're
Wait.
right, we have UGB on.
Commissioner Correa,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBreeze,
Yes.
Commissioner Maderos,
Yes.
Chair Aranda.
Yes, meeting's adjourned.
Right, do we have